Welcome back to an episode of Picks. This is a series that I used to do and I've just picked back up. Once every month I go through things that I've really enjoyed that month and I try and theme them together in a way that is pleasing to me and hopefully helpful to you. The things are, and let's see if I can do this from memory, book, film, YouTube, app, podcast, thing. I remembered them, probably not in that order. I will list them down in the description with some links to them if you want to find them. These things are usually readily accessible or they're just things that exist in the world, like my pick for a thing this month. It is a bike. I'll explain in more detail what I think, why now for bikes. The theme of this one today is escapism. It's getting away from the idea of being locked down and escaping through my favourite means, watching people do things outdoors and laughing. Or, in fact, actually just literally escaping and doing things outdoors. Without further ado, let's get into this. So for the book, The Glass Hotel, this book is from one of my favourite authors. I didn't actually know it was coming out until I got an email from Audible saying it's been released as an audiobook. So I got it straight away. It was a bit tough to get into at first. I'd just been listening to my whole Jack Reacher back catalogue. No shame, but those books are kind of fluffy. And moving over to something a little more emotional and ever so slightly abstract was difficult at first. But I cleansed my palate with some non-fiction and then I fell in love with The Glass Hotel. Last Night in Montreal is one of my favourite books, full stop. And this book has got a little bit of that to it. It's also got some tie-ins with another of my favourite books, Station 11, which I think is actually in the process of being made into a series, probably for Netflix. The Glass Hotel is a wonderful, dreamy piece of escapism. It's not escaping to a perfect world, it's not that utopian view. It's losing yourself in emotion. If you like a linear story and you want drama, this might not be for you though. The YouTube channel is Beau Miles.
This is me, Beau. Nice beard, eh? And this is my barn, where I make things.
If your life indoors needs more outdoors and you don't mind a bit of thoughtfulness with your outdoor pursuits, then this might be the guy for you. I particularly enjoyed his a mile an hour video. It's great. He basically does a marathon but in chunks split up into individual miles. Every hour he goes for a mile run, I think that's about it. He's just a really interesting guy. Check him out. Film, Extraordinary. If you want to laugh, Extraordinary might be the film to make that happen.
Why don't we see ghosts every day?
Leave me alone.
If you enjoyed What We Do in the Shadows and Housebound, this comedy horror from the Emerald Isle is pretty perfect. If you haven't seen either of those, by the way, check them out. They're also amazing, Housebound and What We Do in the Shadows. It's about a retired medium who is now a driving instructor being forced back into the world of the occult because of a one-hit wonder who wants to do a deal with the devil to get himself back in the charts. Simple. So the thing in this episode is a little bit more generic than usual. It's a bike. Let me explain. This feels super obvious, but being able to escape and get further than your legs can carry you feels really nice at the moment. But I think even more important is using the way things are at the moment to learn how to better use a more environmentally friendly mode of transport so that when things get back to being normal, you can confidently use a way of getting around that's cheap, healthy, and great for the environment. Hopefully the uptick in cycling will help inform policy on town planning and traffic management in the future. Fingers crossed, that is a future that I like the sound of. For the podcast, Off Menu. This is again all about escaping through laughter. Off Menu is a podcast hosted by Ed Gamble and James Acaster, both comedians.
Welcome to the Off Menu podcast.
It's so creamy.
It is so creamy. That's James Acaster over there. This is the voice of Ed Gamble. We're a couple of rum lads who like asking people what their favourite meals are, James.
That's true. We're going to ask them their favourite ever starter, main course, dessert, side dish and drink.
Yes, we always get a special guest on here.
On it, they welcome a guest into their fictional restaurant where a genie waiter, James Acaster, provides them with their dream meal. The meal can be anything from any time, and the use of food as a vehicle for triggering memories and teasing out anecdotes. It's pretty genius. App, reading list for iPhone. Reading is the all-time great form of escapism, but it gets a little bit forgotten and left behind in a much noisier world where everything is in vivid colour and just fired into your brain. Reading is sometimes mocked as being highbrow for some reason, but it's clearly by people who, don't read, or at least don't read for fun. And, it's just not true, is it? Fuck the classics and read something trashy if you want. There's no shame in it. There's no judgment. It's just reading. The difficulty I find is when I start a book, I'll sometimes just forget about it. It'll get put back on the shelf and I'll have forgotten about it. And sometimes because of the entertainment being shot directly into your eyeballs or, scrolling, I just forget books exist and I forget to read them. But luckily, my tiny little lizard brain loves it when I make a game out of things. And putting numbers to reading has really helped me get back on track with the books that I want to read, and gamifying it in a way has been really satisfying. Reading List probably isn't the only app to do this, but it's the one that I'm using. All it does basically is create a virtual library of the books you want to read and the books you have read. It also tracks what you're reading, and you can put in your, which page you're up to, which is really handy if, like me, sometimes you lose your bookmarks because they fall out. It also helps my brain space. Sometimes you just need to move information out of your head and put it somewhere else. And keeping it in a database is also super helpful because it actually lets me refer back to that in a meaningful way when people ask me for recommendations. So that's a win. And that was the last thing. If you decide to use any of these, I think there's probably going to be a couple of Amazon affiliate links down in the description. Use them if you like. I am moving away from Amazon. I'm trying my best not to use Amazon at the moment, but I make some money through there. Unfortunately, it's a necessary evil for what I do. And also, I can't find a better deal than Audible, so that's staying at the moment. But yeah, it would be super helpful if you like this video to actually like this video. And if you're not already subscribed, that would be really nice too. And, leave a comment, call me an idiot. That was Picks for this month. I'll see you next time.